Welcome to the Intel AppUp Application Lab for the MeeGo app submission and validation process. Through this training, you will learn the requirements for submitting your applications to the Intel AppUp developer program and the validation guidelines that Intel follows to validate MeeGo applications. The training is specifically targeted for MeeGo application developers, but the general concepts will apply to Windows application developers as well. This diagram shows the overall submission and validation process. The first step, of course, is to enroll in the Intel AppUp developer program. This will give you access to helpful tools for application development, debugging, and testing your app, including the MeeGo SDK for Windows, the AppUp SDK, the AppUp Center client, and other resources. Once you have developed your application, you will need to submit it through the developer programs portal. We will cover that process in more detail in a moment. After you submit the app, Intel will validate it based on the program's published criteria. If you pass all of the criteria, your application will be validated and made available for sale and download through Intel AppUp Center app stores. If your application fails on one or more of the validation criteria, you will be sent a report stating why it failed so that you can modify the app and resubmit. The Intel AppUp developer program offers members numerous benefits and opportunities. Your free membership gives you access to a wide assortment of tools and resources to assist you in creating great new apps. On the program website, you will find many articles, documents, and tips for app development, including sample code for using the SDK and the Qt development environment. You will also be able to interact with other members of the community through forums and blogs and share ideas and best practices that will potentially help the community at large. From your dashboard, you can view validation reports, crash data, and downloads and other metrics for each of your applications all through your account. And you'll have the option to beta test your applications to be completely satisfied that they function as expected and meet all validation criteria, reducing your time to market. Once you log into your developer program account, you can click on the My Dashboard link to view information about your applications. This is where you can track activity with applications already submitted and submit new applications. The app submission process is only 5 easy steps. Simply click on the Start a New Application button to launch the submission form. Enter the metadata and other information about your app. Choose your pricing model and upload the executable RPM application file. You can then beta test the app to make sure it performs properly, and when you are ready, submit it for validation by Intel. Let's take a closer look at these steps. The metadata you provide enables easier search and categorization for your app. It's also used for testing and validation by Intel. The more accurate the metadata you provide, the quicker the validation process and the easier it will be for customers to find it. On this screen, the section highlighted in black shows the metadata categories. Categories include language. Localization support for applications is currently available in English, German, French, and Spanish. Content rating, application category, and the platform then the app will run on. You'll also need to specify the operating system and any hardware, software, and runtime requirements. And finally, you will need to select the revenue model for your app, free or paid, and set the price you want to charge if you are selling it. The dashboard also allows you to track and monitor your applications. You can check the number of downloads, view crash reports, and monitor other data. For each new paid application that you submit, the Intel AppUp SDK assigns it a unique GUID. This GUID is used to monitor the application for AppUp SDK functionality like DRM, crash reporting, etc. Note that AppUp SDK integration is optional for free apps and consequently won't benefit from application monitoring. When a consumer downloads your app, the service manager on the user system will contact the backend infrastructure to provide information such as the number of devices the app is downloaded on, if it's a paid app, whether it's an authorized download, and any crash report data. As the developer, you will be able to track all of this information through your dashboard. You also have the option to simulate the end user experience and test your application for validation guidelines compliance using beta testing. By now, you have entered metadata information and uploaded the binary RPM for your MeeGo application. For beta testing, you will need to have the Intel AppUp Center client installed on a PC, tablet, or netbook and an AppUp Center account created. If you want to have friends or colleagues beta test your app as well, they will also need Intel AppUp Center accounts. Under the AppUp Center tab in your dashboard, you will find a box for adding the email addresses of anyone you want to test your app and be able to send them an invitation to download it and try it out. Note that you cannot beta test after you have submitted an application for validation. When your beta testers log into the Intel AppUp Center, they'll see the apps that they have been invited to test in the My Apps section of the client. Clicking Download will perform a silent install on the test machine. The first time the application is downloaded, the test system will need to be connected to the internet. Several things happen during an install. If the application is integrated with the AppUp SDK, the service manager on the system will contact the backend, perform DRM checks, and if authorized, install the application. If by any chance your application crashes, the crash report for your application will appear in your dashboard. Once the application is installed, you can test it for compliance with Intel's validation guidelines. This enables you to go back and make changes to your application before you submit, and that will save time in the validation queue.